This lesson promises to be the ultimate guide to the new SBA syllabus for CXC. It is going to be outlining that which is needed by CXC as per the mark scheme. And I'll also show you in a video that comes after this video an example of a lab. Then I'll show you another video where I'm marking that example using the mark scheme and showing you how you're supposed to guide yourself in preparing that ASBA for human and social biology. You'll never believe it. However, your problem is now through the door once you watch all 3 videos on the new SBA for Human and Social Biology, CXC. I am Mr. Wilson from TCP Academy. You can find us online at tcp-academy.teachable.com. You can also find us on YouTube at csec Biology TCP. Let's go. We're looking at a document from the Caribbean Examination Council. It's titled SBA Requirements. It's very important for you to know this document in order to ace your SBA. The SBA will be one project, unlike biology, which is 18. The SBA will be no more than 1,000 words, and this 1,000 words does not include the bibliography, charts, graphs, tables, pictures, reference, nor the appendices. So none of these are included. Now, I thought that 1,000 words was really difficult to write until I started writing the SBA this evening, a while ago, in a matter of fact, and I found out I had to be very, very careful, or else I would have written 5,000 words. The format of the SBA is very important for you to follow this guide, and as such, you must watch the video that follows this video. The SBA is to include a cover page, including candidate's number, name of subject, and date of submission. It should contain a table of content, introduction, methodology, and presentation of data. The SBA should also include analysis and interpretation of that data, conclusion based on what you intended to do, recommendations based on your findings, and reflection of what you have found. The SBA should also carry a bibliography and appendices. Now, APA 6, I think it's the format that we are using. You might be able to find a template online at Google. So you could just type in APA 6 referencing or bibliography and just fill that template out, and it will generate the reference for you. Let's look at this in more details. So marking the SBA, this is what we're going to be using for this guide. No secret to the students because they need to know what they're getting into. So first is going to begin with a background or overview of the issue. So I might say it's the observation. What is it that's sparked this research? Why is it that we want to do this research? So that's going to be your background. It's marked out of 2, and this is how the marks are allocated. Last year, many students differed on their CXC exams as they were afraid of failure due to their level of readiness. This year, Mr. Wilson and his experienced team from tcpacademy.teachable.com is here to help you get exam ready. Subscribe for free to tcp-academy.teachable.com. We offer courses in CXC Biology, HSB, English Language, and many others. There are several offerings to each course. Enroll in one today. If the student provides a clear, detailed description of a current health-related or environmental issue, then they are given 2 marks. If the description is detailed but lack clarity, then only 1 mark will be awarded. Problem statement. Look at this carefully. 2 marks is awarded for that. Research problem is stated clearly. What is your problem that is derived from your observation or from the background or from the overview? What is the real problem you want to solve? So if that is clearly stated, you're going to get a mark. Research problem is in an appropriate form and observation of question. Then you're going to get the other mark, a total of 2 marks. Then comes the research objective. The objective of the research is linked to the issue. That is the observation that you made of the problem. Your objective is linked to that. You're going to get a mark for that. Objective of the research is realistic and feasible. Not doing something on earth and you're writing up a research as if you're going to space. It is pretty simple, and you should follow the guides of your teacher, follow the guides of the SBA, and make sure you are using that basal reader that is prescribed for the subject human and social biology to help you in answering your question or pretty much realizing the objective of the research. Then come the methodology. How are you going to execute this research? What is it that you're going to do, or what is it that you did? There's a research that you would have done. So what is it that you did in the execution of this research? Now, if you state the sample uses identified and clearly described. And that's where we look at the demographic of this data set we're using. How many persons are we sampling? What is the sample size? Possibility lies. Is this a set of students? Is it a set of villagers? Is it a set of old persons, young persons, toddler? Who is it that you're sampling, and how large is the data set? Data collection instrument is identified and clearly described. What is it that you're using? Are you using a questionnaire? Have you highlighted the advantages of using a questionnaire? Have you said how the questionnaire is supposed to be used? If you did, you're going to get 2 marks for that. And if your sample size is well stated and named, you're also going to get 2 marks. The method of data collection identified and clearly described. Now that you have your questionnaire, how are you going to collect this data? Will it be random sampling? Will it be sequential? How are you going to go about doing this random sampling? Where are you going to do it? And when? How? Who? That sort of a thing need to be said. So the method must be clearly identified, and what was the execution plan? How was it executed? The method of data collection is adequately justified. Is it worth using this method of data collection? Will an interview work, or is it better to use a questionnaire? What is the best instrument to collect the information that you need to solve a 1,000-word research? Make sure it is not something to write a book on life. It is just to solve a simple problem, not a complex problem for the human and social biology research. When you write your methodology, everything has limitations. You need to outline a limitation for the method that you're using to carry out this research. There must be some type of limitation. Is it that the limitation is that you really can't trust the content given to you or the data that you've collected from individual? Do you think that they lied? Do you think that you sampled at the wrong time of the day? What are some of the things that you could do that could have caused this to have some issue? Now, presentation of data. The data is presented in an appropriate form using a table, graph, and charts. And you're going to learn that you need to have data presented in at least two forms: prose, chart, tables, graph. You have to ensure that you can use it. And you're seeing the marks coming down there on the right side. So for methodology, which is 8 marks, you want to pay attention to the sheet when you are writing up the SBA to ensure that you score full marks. I cannot agree with anyone that SBA for HSB is more difficult this year. I think it is nicer. I think it is sweeter. And if you know Mr. Wilson, I have looked at these things and I make sure that I take time to go through them before I put out a video on them. I would have had this data for quite some time, from probably June, July. And I'm just putting out this data when I'm comfortable with the data set, when I think it is opportune time to give persons the content to work with. Let's continue. Now, forms used for the presentation of a data is correctly labeled. Now, you really don't want to have any table, any graph, anything in your SBA that is not well labeled. Labeling should be descriptive of what is in the table or what is in the graph. And if it's a picture, it should be it should have a descriptive title that we know where it was taken and what is it that you are showing. Not so much the picture, because we know that the picture tells 1,000 words. So what is it that you want to use this picture to show? That is what the title should say. This picture is showing a section of Kingston, Jamaica. We are looking at downtown on King Street, and this is what is happening there. And I like the problem that I'm putting forward in this research. You want to make sure that you do that. And the data presentation must be accurate. It must be accurate. So if you are going to be doing percentage, show some calculation, man. Show us that you know that you're supposed to put 10 over 20 multiplied by 100 over 1 to get the percentage. Do some calculation on the paper that we can see how you arrived at the answer, and it's not just something punched on a calculator or copied from somewhere. We want to see your calculation on the paper. So for the data presentation, we want to see how you got that data. Put it in there for us. That is going to come in nicely when we look at the analysis of the data. Analysis and interpretation of the data, 5 whopping marks. You really don't want to miss that. Now, data is analyzed using appropriate calculation. Calculation does not only mean using the calculator. As it were, for the exam, the calculation must be shown. You must write it out. 2 plus 1 equals 3. You must write it up. Show us the little working, the little cross multiplication, the little canceling, the little thing like that. Shows that you know what you're doing. The statistical jargons are supposed to be used. Are you going to be looking at the mean, the mode, the median, the percentage? What is it that you're going to be looking at? You need to state these. Make sure you are using statistical data to put forward your point. Data is summarized accurately. Accurately. You don't really want to summarize your data and throw away some things that really is needed in the data set in order to make a judgment or a determination or a recommendation or to aid with the reflection or conclusion. So you want to make sure that it is summarized accurately. At least 2 statements of finding must be based on the presentation. So whatever you presented, 2 statements, at least 2 statements of findings are based on the presentation. 55% of the individual showed that. 30% of the individual showed that. Nobody in the data set returned that. You need to at least pull 2 bits of information from the data. And you're going to realize it's very easy to do, having looked at my example. Findings are consistent with analysis. So your findings, they are consistent with what you are analyzing, what you're presenting, what the data set is saying, and of course, with the literature review, which is not so much a part of this, but if you're reading, what you're saying must be consistent somewhere. It's not new information. We're just adding to the information that's already there. Then, conclusion. Conclusion, succinctly summarize the project. Your conclusion will answer your objective. Your conclusion will come from your observation. That's what you're going to use to answer your aim or the objective that you had. That's where you're going to get that information to say, I conclude, or this is a conclusion, right? Or based on what I found, whatever you want to write there, but make sure it's 1 mark. So you're getting 2 marks for conclusion. Conclusion is logical and, of course, based on the findings. Based on what you did, not what is written in a book somewhere. Based on the area that you studied, what is your conclusion in relation to your objectives? Then we have a recommendation. Based on what you have learned, and let me tell you something now, guys. Don't go to the internet to pull some information that is not covered on your syllabus. You'd be doing yourself injustice. So find out, if you don't know, what chapters of my textbook, where in the syllabus is this data coming from, so I can read and be informed to answer this paper, and of course be benefiting from that information to write my exam. So don't go and pull information just from the internet any willy-nilly way. Use your textbook and syllabus to guide. At least 2 recommendations proposed. You must have 2 recommendations, minimum 2. When you're finished reading, you probably have 200. But just look for the 2 best, or the best 2 for your project. Recommendations are realistic. What are you going to do? Charge everybody that do illegal dumping? Where are you going to get the resource to charge them? Where are you going to get these persons to police them? How are you going to, you're going to find time to put them through the court? Do you have the authority to get that done? Use realistic stuff. Talk about recycle, reuse, reduce, garbage bins, writing a letter, education, the community youth group. Look at things that you can address. You can write a letter, but you really can't let the government do anything. So please ensure that the recommendation is realistic. Recommendations are informed by findings. Don't go and just put in an idea that you think is just, this is a grand thing, I will just put this in. But it has nothing to do with the problem that's there. Make sure that the recommendations that you have, they are pertinent to the problem at hand. Then there is reflection, and this is a nice piece. And if you're doing CAPE and you're hearing my voice, I strongly suggest that you look at this document. You'd write a better CAPE paper if you're doing like environmental science. Reflection. Candidate states the following information, and it's marked out of 6. 2 lessons learned after undertaking the project. If you copied from your friend book or from your friend's book, or if you just wrote a willy-nilly thing, there will be nothing that you have learned to write here, and you'll just be losing marks. So I strongly suggest that you start reading or start listening. There are several YouTube vloggers like Mr. Wilson who cover content and human and social biology. And listen to somebody who's talking about the content if you don't want to read, to make sure you can write a good reflection. Because you need to have 2 lessons learned after undertaking whatever project you're doing. One way in which the lesson learned could be applied to your life, somebody's life in the community at whole, the country at whole. How could this apply to your life? What change could this effect? That which you have found. One way in which the project could be improved. What could you do to improve this project? Is it that you need to run it a longer time? Is it that you need a larger sample size? Is it that you need a particular equipment or equipment? Is it that you need somebody to be a part of your research team that would make this a little better? How could you improve the quality of this research? Is it that you need better data collection devices? Like in Jamaica, we were having a little problem with the COVID vaccine. And now we have, I went to a vaccine thing just the other day, and I'm telling you, it was awesome. It was so well organized. I'm impressed. I am so impressed. So is it that we have the best set of tools and persons to carry out the research? Is that what you need? A better data set, a better resource set in order to make sure that it is improved? And then one social impact and one economical impact the issue could have on your school, your community, is not ratified. So social impact. Let's look at the family. If your parents fall ill or you fall ill, that's going to put stress on your parents. And that might cause a broken home. It could lead to teenage pregnancy. It could lead to crime. It could lead to somebody start drinking. Somebody start to have some practice that is just not acceptable. These are social ills. Somebody just starts spending more than they should. There's just not enough money to spend. All of these are social ills. And then we could think about the fallout of income versus not being able to go to work. So there's no money to pay the bill. The lights start cutting, the light cut off, internet is out, mortgage persons are writing you, the water is gone, the baby's crying, no money. And also the companies that would have employed these persons who are sick, now they are losing valuable manpower. And if you're losing manpower, probably they can't meet their market demand. And if they can't meet their market demand, they might be losing market and losing income. So we understand that this has a ripple effect, whatever we're doing out there, whatever we're studying, all this ties into something nicely. Once we're doing biology, once we're doing HSB, once we're doing environmental science, please be reminded there's a 3D we have to think about: the social, the economical, and the environmental impact that whatever we're doing, we call it anthropogenic impact. Whatever we're doing, what type of impact is it having on the environment? Everything that we do causes some problem. Let's continue. Then there is the final part for the grading, and it's marked out of 4. Nicely topped off here. Layout of a presentation follows the correct format, inclusive of cover page, table of content, and bibliography to include appendices. So you have to make sure you follow the format that we outlined earlier. If layout includes only 2 elements, 1 mark only out of the 4. Bibliography format information contains the name of the author, must be there, or authors, publisher, who published whatever book, the date of a publication should always be the date as in the year. All right? And consistent use of correct spelling and grammar. So you're going to be losing marks if your English is not up to date. Make sure that your English is perfect, way, way better than mine. All right? I like to tell persons I speak probably more than one language. So I speak Patois, real Patois, a little bit of English, and so on and so forth. That's for the persons who I understand. So I do hope that I did provide some amount of information to help you to go through with your SBA. I am going to be doing another video with an example of an SBA, one which you could look at and write yours. And of course, I'm going to be using this very document to mark that very SBA. You really want to see that. So the next video will show you the example. And after the example, you're going to be seeing me marking that document using this paper. Remember, you can leave me your comment. Tell me what you think. Ask the question you want to ask. But most of all, remember to share the document with 1,000,000 persons and have 2,000,000 persons subscribe. We really need that in order to continue the work here. Remember to give the video as much love as is possible and like the video so that it will become a part of your playlist. Even when I have it as unlisted, you will have it as a part of your playlist. Thanks so much for watching. I am Mr. Wilson. from CSEC Biology TCP. That's on YouTube. Or you can find us online at tcp-academy.teachable.com. That is our paid version for biology and HSB. See you soon.